Well, I think we got a lot going for us coming back this fall. We've got a good situation at quarterback. We've got a running back, 4 of our 5 starting offensive linemen back, some talented kids on defense, solid special teams. So we got some positives. We still have some question marks, obviously. Inexperienced receiver group that's got to step up. Lost our 2 top tight ends, so we got new faces there. But we got a lot of guys that are very focused and really like the attitude and just the demeanor of this football team.
What's the next step that Zach Moss needs to take as a running back?
Zach Moss, his next step is just to pick up where he left off last fall. I thought the light switch went on for him about the USC game. He ran with a great deal of violence and physicality from that point on throughout the remainder of the season, and really was the back that we envisioned him being when we recruited him. And he just needs to continue on that trajectory.
Talk about your quarterback situation, like how happy or maybe unhappy you may be with their development.
Okay, we think we got a good situation at quarterback. We got Tyler Huntley coming back as the incumbent. He was the guy that started all but I think it was 4 games for us last year. Behind Tyler, we have a redshirt freshman, Jason Shelley from Texas, who had an outstanding spring. He's a lot like Tyler, a dual threat quarterback. And then we just recruited Jack Tuttle from San Diego area. He's a guy that was with us in spring ball, exceptionally talented young man. And this fall camp, it's going to be those 3 guys getting all the reps at the position.
How you've had a knack for turning out really good offensive and defensive linemen over the years. What are the traits you're looking for when you're recruiting those guys?
Yeah, we've had a good run of linemen, both sides of the ball. We oftentimes don't get the 5- and 4-star guys that are ready-made, ready to play. So we've got to project a little bit and evaluate. And we look for big frames that can run. They may be 30 or 40 pounds underweight in high school, but we know in a few years, in our strength program, that a 240-pound guy is going to be 290 or 300 pounds. And so I think it's a great job by our assistant coaches of projecting talent and being great evaluators, and that's what recruiting is all about. There's no surefire things. Even the 5- and 4-star guys, there's no guarantees there.
You mentioned the highly touted recruits. Even among them, what percentage are ready to play? Is it 10%, 5%?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I know the freshmen are more ready now than maybe ever before. I mean, back when I first got into coaching, 95% of your freshman class would redshirt. Now it's probably less than 50%. So the numbers have been seeming to trend in that direction, and I can't give you an exact percentage on it, but I just know that many more freshmen are playing now than ever before.
Along those lines, how do you think the new rule regarding redshirts will change your personnel usage?
Yeah, I think the new redshirt rule is a huge positive for the players. I think it was a great decision by the NC2A. Now there's a lot of conversation that's taken place and will continue to take place of how to use that redshirt, the new redshirt rule, because you can use any 4 games, can be all up front, all at the end, mixed in between. And so I think it really boils down to the position group. If you got a position group that is loaded and you don't think you're necessarily going to get to one of those freshmen, you might put them in a game where it gets out of hand, where you can get them some experience. Whereas if you got a position group that's thin and you may need to rely on that guy at some point, you want to have every bullet you have or that you can to be able to utilize him to help your team win. So I don't think there's anybody that's got an exact formula on how to use it right now, but I think the biggest criteria is where you are as a position group, with that kid. Yeah, we've been competitive. We've had the opportunity to get to the championship game a couple times since we joined the league, have not capitalized on that opportunity. And that's the next step in our evolution as a program, in our estimation, is getting to that championship game. Every team in the conference wants to get there. I've heard it over and over. We're the only team in the South since we joined the league that hasn't got there. But we own up to that. We're not trying to hide from that. It's just something that needs to happen, and is, like I said, is the next step for us as a program.
To sustain a program and the success that you guys have had, you have to have good coaches. And beyond just hiring guys that know football, what are you looking for from assistant coaches for you?
Well, assistant coaches, I think I think there's 3 real main factors that I look for: intelligence, character, and energy. And that's that supersedes experience. That supersedes a lot of things. I think if you get a guy that's really smart, he's a high character guy, he's got a bunch of energy, then he can, if he's not already, he can evolve into a very good football coach. And we've been fortunate to have a lot of continuity on our staff. For the most part, we've had some issues at offensive coordinator, but every other spot on the staff has been very solid and very, a lot of consistency. But with Troy now going into a second year with the offense, we feel good about the direction the offense is heading. And so, this particular year we lost no coaches. We added Gary Anderson as our 10th coach when the NC2A allowed you to add a 10th coach. So the continuity of our staff right now we feel really good about.
How does the addition of Chip Kelly change the landscape?
The addition of Chip Kelly to the conference, well, first of all, I think all 5 guys that are new to the conference are tremendous football coaches. I think there's just a bunch of great coaches in this league. And that's great, and that's something that will enhance the league, but it still boils down to players. Players are what it's all about. And so I'm more interested in what players are on which teams rather than who's coaching them.
When Chip first got to Oregon as coordinator, his use of tempo was really something that not a lot of us had seen, especially at the power conference level. Is tempo the equalizer it was, or is it sort of evened out?
I think tempo is everyone's become accustomed to it, and the high tempo is the tempo now. It's no longer a change-up, that's the norm. And so when you get somebody that slows down, that's really when it becomes a change for you. And so when it initially came on the scene, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was certainly something that defenses had not been accustomed to and weren't adjusted to. But now we practice at such a high tempo with our defense that it doesn't bother us anymore. And really, offense is all about execution. And if you can, the most lethal offense is an offense that can go high tempo and execute. But if your execution is suffering because of the speed at which you're going, then I don't think the trade-off is worth it. But the tempo offenses are certainly the rule rather than the exception anymore.
What positional group needs the most work in fall camp, Kyle?
The positional group that needs the most work, that's a tough question. I would say the group that needs to really step up is the wide receivers. We have a lot of inexperienced wide receivers. We lost Darren Carrington and Ray Singleton, so there's a lot of good players in that group, very good players that are unproven. And that's really, in my estimation, the biggest key to how our offense goes this year is going to be how the receiving group comes along and becomes and performs for us and contributes.
Is there an alpha in that group, in your estimation?
Well, Britton Covey is a tremendous player. It was great to have Britton back. C.O.C. Wilson is a guy that I think is ready to have a breakout year, and we got 3 or 4 other guys that are really nobody, they're kind of under the radar that we're excited about.
Coach, you must be thrilled to get Coach Anderson back on staff. How did that materialize? There must have been a tug-of-war for him. He was pretty much in demand.
Well, the day after he stepped down is probably is about when it happened. I mean, me and Gary are close friends. We've been great friends for years and years, and it was very shortly after he stepped down at Oregon State that we decided that he'd be a great fit at Utah.
A question, the BYU game is now at the end where Colorado had been for years. Is this going to be going forward with BYU or just a one-year thing? Or
no, to my knowledge, this is a one-off and a scheduling, kind of a quirk in the scheduling where I think that it was the conference that made the suggestion if we could move this game to the last game of the season. But to my knowledge, going forward, that game will always be played in the first 3 games of the year.
With Britton and other guys coming back from missions, how do you get them back into game shape?
Yeah, well, Britton's been home since April, so he's had a pretty good time frame there to get himself ready and get himself up to speed. He looks great in the summer conditioning. Obviously, you haven't seen him run routes and catch balls yet. We'll be able to do that next Wednesday. But when you deal with the missionaries, it's a timing thing on when they get back. Also, the position they play plays into it. The readiness based on the position that they're playing. And so I just know that it's been a big positive for us. The mission program at University of Utah has been a big plus for us and given us a lot of, we've reaped a lot of rewards from that program through the years. Nick Ford, redshirt freshman this fall, gifted player, big kid, 6'5", 320 pounds, and brought him in originally as a defensive lineman, made the move shortly thereafter to offensive line. That definitely is his home. And you're going to see him in the rotation this year. Okay.
How do you decide who on your staff gets to make the recruiting trips to Australia?
The recruiting trips to Australia, we got the guy that has Hawaii is automatically designated the Australia guy. I guess that's the closest guy to it. So Lewis Powell has been, he's logged a lot of miles. He's gone to Guam, he's gone to the Philippines, he's gone to Australia. He's a diamond medallion at Delta. So he did that in about a month. So he's the guy, and it's all based on geographics.
Coach, talk a little bit about that Northern Illinois game. That kind of sticks out that you have to go on the road and play a non-Power 5 opponent.
Yeah, a good non-Power 5 opponent, a blue-collar, tough, physical outfit. And so that's something that is on the schedule. I never really worry about the schedule. I don't complain about it or really analyze it too much. You just play them as they unfold. It is not the norm to do something like that, but that's out of my hands.
With the college football playoff now in its fourth season, do you really think that you have to re-examine your scheduling philosophy?
With 9 Pac-12 games, I don't think so. I think that if you're an 8-game conference schedule, then I think that getting a game within those non-conference opponents that would be a high-profile game would be necessary. But with a 9-conference game schedule, like I said, I think there's a danger in overscheduling, there's a danger in underscheduling, and so I think we've been pretty balanced throughout the years.
Do you think there's imbalance with some conferences playing 8 conference games and others playing?
I sure do, and I'd like to see a uniform, standardized Power 5 schedule, throughout all the Power 5 conferences, and it doesn't matter whether it's 8, 9, 10, as long as it's uniform and everyone's on the same playing field and the same, under the same guidelines.
You got some of your toughest opponents at home this
year.
Yeah,
we do.
Later in the season. What sort of advantage does it? I've been out to Salt Lake a few times for games, and it feels like the crowd's right on you.
The crowd is on you, yeah.
So what are some of the advantages that you guys have had there against some of the Pac-12 opponents?
Yeah, we think we have a big home field advantage. We got a great crowd. We've had 50-plus straight sellouts. It goes back some 8 or 9 years, and we're proud of that. We got a MUS student section that is as good as there is in the country, and we feel that it's a tough environment to play in, and it's loud. It may only be just approaching 50,000, but it's a loud place. So.
And you had a pretty highly touted running back come out of Arizona last year in T.J. Green. He redshirts. What do you expect him to bring to the table? How would you like to see him step up?
Yeah, TJ is going to have to be a factor for us this year, and he's going to be a redshirt freshman. We did sit him out last year. Of course, we've got Zach Moss and Armand Shine are our 1-2 guys right now. But beyond that, TJ will be battling for that next slot and see where see if he can get that third spot. We have, I believe, we have 5 scholarship running backs coming to camp this fall, and so we need to establish a pecking order behind Zach Moss and Armand Shine. Yeah, Solomon Enos is a great addition to our football team. He's, depending on what service you look at, either the best or second best player coming out of Arizona this past year. Very talented kid, nearly 6'3", 200 pounds, runs like a gazelle, and we're excited to see what he can do. We did not have him in spring. He didn't get on campus until last month, and I'm excited to watch him as well as a bunch of other guys when we open practice up a week from today.
Talking about Chase Hansen, obviously has an interesting career.
Am I supposed to be answering these into the mic or just talking to you? It's kind of weird. Into the mic, but no one knows the question, but I'm on the, okay, never mind. Good setup. Can you guys hear him ask those questions? Okay, I didn't think so.
I was mumbling.
All right, let's keep going.
Chase Hansen obviously came to Utah as a quarterback, safety, linebacker. Just talk about how he's adjusted to all that, and obviously injuries have kind of derailed him a little bit.
Yeah, Chase Hansen is by the way, the two players I brought, Chase Hansen, a linebacker, former safety, Lo Falamaka, a 6th-year offensive lineman. Speaking of Chase, he came as a quarterback originally. We knew, and we had conversations throughout the recruiting process, that if that didn't seem to be the best fit, we would move him over to defense. About 2/3 of the way through his redshirt freshman year, it became apparent that he was going to be better suited to be a defender. We moved him to safety. Did a great job. Kind of outgrew that position. He's 235 pounds or bigger right now. So his future at the next level and his best fit for us, we felt was going to be at linebacker. His job description at safety was part linebacker. It was about a situation where he was probably down in the box 60% of the time anyway. So it's something that he had been doing part-time, Now it's something that he's going to do full time. He has been beset by injuries. We're hoping that's all behind us now, and we're hoping he has a big senior year for us.
See somebody, you led your team in tackles as a sophomore. Did he do put up those kind of numbers? He said he wants to make 100 tackles.
We hope so. If he makes 100 tackles for us this year, then that's a good thing for us. And like I said, he's a physical kid. He's always around the football, and he's one of those guys that just has a knack for making plays.
Thank you, Kyle.
Coach, can you expand? What are your thoughts on the new rule changes this year?
There's a lot of them. Which one do you have in mind?
Well, the fair catch rule and the
Fair catch rule and kickoff, that's interesting. I think what that is a precursor to doing away with kickoffs altogether. And if it goes down how I think they envision it, the kickoff return will all be eliminated from the game unless you need to squib kick or onside kick, some departure from the norm. But the normal kickoff with the normal kickoff return is going to become a dinosaur.
Are you in favor of that?
No, I like the kickoff. I'm a special teams guy, but I put an asterisk there because if the evidence points to player safety, which I think is the impetus for the rule, then yes. But from a strategic standpoint, no. From a player safety standpoint, yes.
Will that be something you practice, both return-wise and coverage?
Absolutely. That's something that you got to practice. And now kickoff return guys that have never fair caught kickoffs, because you don't fair catch a kickoff down in your own territory, are now going to have to be able to be schooled up when to make that fair catch, how to do it. It's commonplace for a punt returner, but it's new territory for a kickoff returner. So we've got to decide that, what we're going to do, and a lot of that will be determined by how good you feel about your kickoff returner. If you have a ball that hangs up pretty good and drops at the 5-yard line, you want to give that guy a chance to get the ball in his hands, or do you just want to take the safe play and put it on the 25? So I think that's another thing, much like the redshirt rule, to be determined on exactly how it's going to play out.
Have you gone over scenarios of the redshirt rule with your?
Oh yeah, over and over and over, every scenario possible. And the conclusion that I've come to personally is it's more based on your position group depth, that kid is whatever position he plays, than anything else. Because if you feel like you're going to need him because you're thin, you're going to save those bullets till later in the season. If you're loaded at a position and you just want to get a kid some experience as soon as you can, because you don't think you'll get to him, then you put him in as soon as you can.